Now the concept of minilateralism is in news. Why? Because there is a SCOD and the rise of minilateralism which is seen in the Indo-Pacific region. So we will understand what is minilateralism, why it has come let's say forward, or why is it on the rise, what are the benefits of this, but what all negative externalities it can cause, and if not minilateralism, then what else. Especially we will also look at the case for India. What does India prefer and what will be the way forward for India? So let's get started with this. Now, why this particular concept is in news? That is because the rise of China. And also we have seen it's in the Indo-Pacific that minilateralism is rising. That is because of China. Because of China's aggression, other countries are coming together to form small groups against China. Now when I say against China, it is not let's say explicitly against China. They don't have a slogan and say we are against them, but like-minded countries, some small number of like-minded countries are coming together against this Chinese aggression. Now one such particular minilateralism is the SCOD. Okay, so there has been a rise of Chinese aggression where in the Indo-Pacific region. Now because of that, it has led to the formation of SCOD. Now again, important for prelims, any grouping, which country is there, all these things become important for prelims. So formation of SCOD. What is SCOD? It is a minilateral group. Now there can be a bilateral group. When you talk about bilateral, it is 2 countries, trilateral 3 countries. Now multilateral actually have a lot of countries. Generally the international organizations are multilateral organizations. So from multilateral organizations, smaller organizations if are there, now those kind of organizations would be minilateral group or minilateral, and this process is minilateralism. Just 4, 5, 6 countries are there, so that would be a minilateral group. So this SCOD comprises of the US, Japan, Australia and the Philippines. Okay. Now, so what is minilateralism? As I explained, it involves small groups of nations. They collaborate to tackle certain similar problems that they are facing, to tackle problems or pursue mutual goals. The problems that are similar to them, all of them are facing more or less the same kind of problem, and to tackle them. Now, the nature of this particular organization is quite informal and flexible. In fact, that is one of its strengths. It is not quite rigid. For example, certain multilateral organizations would be very rigid. Let's say the WTO, the United Nations, they have their mandates. Now, how strongly they are enforced is another thing, but there is some rigidity about it. Whereas when it comes to minilateral, it is informal and flexible. And there is a reason also for this. Why is there a reason? If you talk about United Nations, any particular organization of United Nations, if it has, let's say, 197 members, now you cannot have much flexibility here. But if there are just 4 members, you can have so much of flexibility. You can keep modifying things, rules, guidelines as per the requirement. Why? Because the approval required is only of 4 people. So to change something here, you need approval of not 197, there would be percentage, let's say 70, 75, 80%, but still a huge number of countries. So that is why it becomes sort of more rigid due to the number of so many countries involved with different perspectives, and it is more flexible due to, of course, the nature of it, of having very less countries in it. Now, what are the reasons for the rise of minilateralism? Dysfunctional multilateral institutes. Since there are so many countries involved, the things do not proceed fast because some or the other country or they would form a group and oppose it. Just take for example agreement on agriculture. WTO's agreement on agriculture is going on. Agreement on agriculture is going on since over a decade. Still no consensus is there. So that is as good as dysfunctional, right? So that is one thing. Here you get the flexibility and agility. Flexibility of rules is there. Agility as in quick changes depending upon the situation can be done. Issue-based cooperation. So let's say we have border-related issues, similar issues, so countries come together. So for small things you can come together. Small as in it's a big thing, but for less number of reasons you can come together and address that. Then changing power, balance of power. Again, a very important thing. Now the organizations like United Nations, WTO, they have been formed way back. Now way back the power dynamics was completely different. The power dynamics was such that US was the powerhouse, unipolar world, but the USSR, so it was a bipolar world, right? But now if you look at it, China has emerged as a strong power. India has emerged as a strong power, right? Russia's power has gone down to an extent, right? So now we are heading towards multipolar world. And India is, now China of course wants to be the only superpower and wants a unipolar world. So does USA, probably so does USSR. At least USSR wants bipolar, right? India is in favor of multipolar. Boss, there should not be one unipolar world, but multipolar there is, and depending upon the present situation, the power should be divided. So this situation is changing. So we can't have the same old, let's say, voting system, powers dynamics that United Nations, when you talk about United Nations Security Council, we still have the same 5 permanent members, right? India wants entry into this because India says the dynamics have changed. Don't you think we are doing way better than Britain or France? Right? Definitely we are, with respect to economics, with respect to even soft power, military power, you call it, and we have it. So we want the changes. So because of changing balance of power, right now what is happening, suddenly to change the complete multilateral organization, at least small minilaterals are coming into picture. Now what are the concerns? The concern is legitimacy and inclusiveness. It may leave out the smaller countries, the weaker countries, and there would be no hold about it, right? That is one thing. What is the legitimacy of this? Three countries coming together, the rest of the world not recognizing them, so that legitimacy problem is there. Limited resources and capabilities are there. For example, if you talk about United Nations peacekeeping, now here the soldiers of 100+ countries are involved. If there are just 3-4 countries, how many resources you will have? So that is one issue. But at the same time, this can be more effective, but now we are looking at the negative externalities. So the capabilities and resources would be limited. Now, tensions and division among countries. Now, tensions and division among minilateralism can also arise, and there will be not single authority or a proper system to address that. Accountability and transparency, what they are doing, the rest of the world do not know. These are the problems which can be there. Now, reasons behind India supporting multilateral agreements. So we have seen multilateral agreements like United Nations, WTO. We are now seeing minilateralism. But let us see what India does, what India supports, and why. India has historically supported multilateral agreements. Why? Because there is a collective negotiation power. India is a developing country, so all the developing countries can come together and lobby and put their points together and collectively negotiate. That is a positive. So that is the reason why we have gone for multilateralism. Now, what are the concerns with respect to rising minilateralism? The thing is, India's vision is of a multipolar world. As I said, India wants a multipolar world. And whatever the voting system, power dynamics right now is there is based on age-old dynamics that was there at that time. India wants a change in that, and India wants a multipolar world. Now, it connects India's value chain, the multipolar world. What multipolar world will do? It will connect India's value chain. I think this heading is wrong. This should not be concerns with rising minilateralism. Yeah, it should be why India is wanting multipolar world, because it and minilateralism or multilateralism, why we have gone for that? Because it connects India to the global value chain. When there is multilateralism, this is the argument for multilateralism. Why India has always wanted multilateralism? Because it connects India to the global value chain. If you have just bilateral thing, you just get connected to one country. Minilateralism just get connected to a few countries. Multilateralism, you get connected to the entire world. Further, there have been failure of regional agreements. Agreements like SAARC. South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation has failed. Why it has failed? Because the neighboring countries which are there are not quite helpful for India. They are the ones who stall things. Because of that, it has failed. Negotiations like SAFTA, all these are examples of sort of failure in the sense that there have not been such progress as was desired. So because of this, again, multilateralism. Okay, now, but minilateralism is on the rise. So let us understand the rationale behind minilateralism. Minilateralism, things become easier. You don't have to convince hundreds of countries. You just have to let's say convince few countries. In the same manner, bilateral, plurilateral organizations are also coming into picture. Just take an example. If there is an agreement of WTO which needs to be, let's say, validated or voted upon, so you will require the, let's say, consensus of over 100 countries. But in that country, in that over 100 countries, there is one country which has a different kind of a relationship with India, more close relationship with India, and can offer better deal to India. So then India can come up in a bilateral agreement with them, right? If the same deal is offered to other countries also, this country may not agree, but it may agree only to offer to India. That is why bilateral agreement deals become important. Right. Now, should India change its stance? Should India go from multilateralism to minilateralism? The answer here would not be completely yes, complete multilateralism should be gone and only minilateralism, or complete minilateralism should be gone and only multilateralism. No, we need to do this based on our requirement, based on our strengths, our weaknesses, what we want and what we don't want on a case by case basis. Okay. So, of course, importance of bilateral agreements have been there. Bilateral agreements are also important, right? 72.6% of India's imports are merely from 15 countries, right? 60% of its export go to just 15 countries. So, look at the importance. The rest of 27% is going close to 200 countries. So, quite spread over. So, these 15 countries and these 15 countries which amount for 60.5% of India's exports are the important countries. There's no doubt about it. Bilateral trades can be concluded swiftly. Of course, it's just two people, two countries. Improves friendly relations. Yes, offering each other better deals. Negotiation possible with practical aims. Right? Mutual compromise and accommodation is possible. Now, increased tension and retreat of war in Europe. Now, because of increased tension and because of war, what had happened? That there were sanctions on Russia, but still Russia and India traded. Why? Because of strong bilateral relations, right? So that is also a thing. Now, bilateral agreement with some nations are very important. Why? Because of the strong connection, friendship or relations, socio-economic, economic relations, military relations that we hold. Russia, for example, is an all-weather friend of India. If there is one all-weather friend of India in this world, that would be Russia, right? These things, friendship does get sway away because of the involvement of USA, Pakistan, so on and so forth. But then we have been all-weather friend. So with Russia, there is strategic and military partnership. Now we can't let this go. I'll give you a very one interesting thing over here. We have military partnership with, let's say, USA or other country also, but generally they sell us the product and only at times the technology as well. With Russia, whenever we are doing a deal of, let's say, buying a submarine, for example, Russia also very happily transfers technology. That, boss, this is the equipment and this is the technology, now you only develop it. So that's a good thing. In the same manner, of course, we are offering things to Russia. For example, when there are sanctions on Russia for trade and countries are not allowed to buy its crude oil, so Russian economy will crumble. But India still buys crude oil from Russia because India has a de-hyphenation policy. De-hyphenation policy says that what I do with Russia is none of USA's business, and what I do with USA is none of Russia's business. So if USA puts sanction on Russia, I don't care. I will still take the oil. I will still supply the agricultural produce. So that is the dehyphenation policy. Similarly with Israel, military partnership and technology transfer. With USA, strategic and diplomatic partnership. With Japan, economic partnership. With Australia, there is cooperation with blue economy and the Indo-Pacific region. Okay, so these are the important things. Now, there is a growing importance of strategic alliances over global cooperation, so India should not be left behind, or else what will happen? 4-4-4-4-3-3 countries all over the world will form alliances and we would be left behind. So we should sort of facilitate and on case by case basis enter it. Okay, so it would give us easy cooperation of like-minded countries, so things would be swifter. Now similar things already exist. The Quad consisting of Australia, India, Japan and USA. The India-Japan-US trilateral, the India-France-Australia trilateral. We are already a part of, you can say, mini-lateralism, and based on our requirement, we should proceed accordingly. Okay? It will give us better decision-making, coordination, seeking informal dialogues will be possible, right? At any time, whenever you require. Now, what are the challenges and way forward? Now the challenge is that this minilateralism's rise would disrupt the international interdependence. Whatever presently available multilateral organizations are there, that may get disrupted. So we need to keep that thing also in mind, that we do not disrupt that completely and also have our involvement in minilateralism as well. And that can be a way forward. So India can take a balanced view, engage with trading partners properly, have the special bilateral relations that we need, also plurilateral, multilateral agreements depending upon the need, and also presence in minilateral organization, again depending upon our need, should be the way forward for India. Thank you.